Hubert's fascination with pigeons began years ago, when he was just a boy in the bustling little village of Bramblebrook. Most people saw pigeons as just ordinary city birds, winged nuisances that scuttled around in search of crumbs. But to young Hubert, they were incredible navigators, capable of finding their way home from hundreds of miles away. It was said that pigeons used a combination of the Earth's magnetic field, the sun's position, and even low-frequency sounds to navigate, abilities that left him both baffled and awestruck. He would spend his early mornings feeding them seeds in the village square, quietly observing their behavior. He noticed how they flocked together, how they cooed softly, and wondered how such small creatures could hold so much mystery. One chilly autumn day, a particularly cheeky pigeon landed on his shoulder, pecking at his ear as if it had something important to say. Hubert laughed, took it as a sign, and decided right then that he was going to make pigeons a bigger part of his life. As a child, Hubert had always been obsessed with collecting random facts. His room was filled with old encyclopedias, trivia books, and strange knickknacks that each held some odd piece of knowledge. He could tell you that a shrimp's heart is located in its head, or that pineapples take 2 years to grow, which he found amusingly patient for a fruit. His fascination with the bizarre extended to animals, plants, and even the human body. For example, he knew that octopuses have 3 hearts, and one of them stops beating when they swim, an oddity he would often tell his friends, only to see their puzzled expressions. He had a particular fondness for facts that could make people pause, tilt their heads, and say, "Wait, what?" But most of the time, nobody wanted to hear his trivia. People were busy, rushing around the village, preoccupied with errands, and had no time for his quirky facts. It made Hubert feel a little lonely, but he never lost his passion for odd knowledge. One day, while chewing his signature gum, watermelon flavored, his favorite, Hubert stumbled across an article about how pigeons were once used during World War I to carry messages across enemy lines. He read about a pigeon named Cher Ami, who had saved nearly 200 soldiers by delivering a message despite being wounded. Inspired by this heroic bird, Hubert thought, if they could carry important wartime information, why couldn't they carry something a bit more enlightening? That's when the idea for the Pigeon Trivia Hour was born. The early days of training the pigeons were full of comical disasters. Hubert would carefully write out little notes and attach them to the pigeons' legs, only for them to lose the notes or peck at them as if they were trying to eat them. The first few weeks were chaotic, with slips of paper scattered across the square, and Hubert chasing after wayward birds, muttering under his breath. But he didn't give up. Slowly, with gentle persistence and a lot of sunflower seeds as incentives, the pigeons learned to pick up small slips of paper and fly them to different parts of the village. Hubert even made tiny, lightweight pouches that the pigeons could carry with ease. At first, the notes were simple phrases, "Hello, friend," or "Have a great day." Hubert wanted to ease the villagers into the idea. Gradually, he started adding his beloved trivia, hoping to spark curiosity and maybe even make someone smile. The first real breakthrough happened on a foggy Wednesday morning. One of Hubert's favorite pigeons, whom he had affectionately named Bessie, dropped a note on the counter of the local bakery. The baker, an older gentleman named Mr. Alder, was just about to shoo the pigeon away when curiosity got the better of him. He unfolded the small note and read, "The inventor of the Pringles can is now buried in one." Mr. Alder chuckled, and the next day, he found himself looking up more facts about Pringles. He was amazed to learn that the distinctive shape of Pringles is called a hyperbolic paraboloid, designed to ensure the chips wouldn't break easily in the can. He told his customers, who all thought it was quite an amusing fact. Word of the mysterious trivia-dropping pigeons began to spread. People in the village would find themselves looking up at the sky, hoping to catch a glimpse of one of Hubert's messengers. Soon, Tuesdays became known as Trivia Tuesday, and crowds would gather in the square to see what peculiar piece of information would fall from the sky that week. Children would rush to pick up the notes, giggling and racing to see who could read it out loud first. One note read, "Bananas are berries, but strawberries aren't," leading to a heated discussion at the local cafe. Another said, "Honey never spoils, it's been found in ancient Egyptian tombs, still edible," which made the villagers marvel at nature's little preservatives. The success of Trivia Tuesday encouraged Hubert to expand his pigeon fleet. He built a small aviary in his backyard, complete with cozy nests and feeding stations, and he began to adopt pigeons from nearby towns. Each new pigeon was given a quirky name. There was Jasper, who always seemed to fly in circles before landing, and Matilda, who had a habit of tilting her head as if she was pondering the trivia herself. Hubert spent hours bonding with his pigeons, making sure they felt comfortable and cared for. It wasn't long before he had trained over 20 pigeons, each one capable of carrying a little note. As the popularity of Trivia Tuesday grew, Hubert decided to take things up a notch. He began researching even stranger facts, the kinds that would make people scratch their heads in wonder. He wrote about how wombat poop is cube-shaped, a fact that became a local favorite because it was so absurd. He shared that koalas have fingerprints almost identical to humans, so much so that they could taint a crime scene if they ever got into trouble. Hubert was delighted to see people saving the notes, pinning them up on their refrigerators, and sharing them with friends and family. He even started a special series for kids, with facts like, an octopus can squeeze through a hole the size of a quarter because they have no bones, and sea otters hold hands while sleeping to keep from drifting apart. But not everyone was pleased. One person in particular, Mrs. Prindle, the village librarian, saw the pigeons as a menace. "Books are for learning, not birds," she would exclaim, shaking her fist at the sky whenever a pigeon flew by. She tried to organize a petition to stop Hubert's pigeons, citing concerns over bird droppings and the distraction from proper reading. She lamented that people were getting trivia for free from the sky when they should be visiting the library and checking out books. But by then, the villagers were too invested. Trivia Tuesday had become a beloved event, bringing a touch of joy and oddity to their otherwise routine lives. Even Mrs. Prindle, despite her protests, was caught chuckling when she read the fact, cows have best friends and can become stressed when they are separated. It was a fact that made her think of her own cats, who were inseparable. One particularly memorable Tuesday, a pigeon delivered a note that read, "A day on Venus is longer than a year on Venus." The villagers were so fascinated that they ended up hosting a makeshift science discussion in the square, with everyone trying to wrap their heads around how a planet could rotate so slowly. Children drew diagrams on the pavement with chalk, and an amateur astronomer from the neighboring town was invited to explain the concept. Hubert was overjoyed to see people learning and engaging with the world in ways they hadn't before, all because of his little pigeon project. One evening, as Hubert was preparing for the next day's trivia drop, he received a letter from a man in a nearby town. The letter read, "I found one of your pigeon notes, and it made me smile on a day I really needed it. Please keep them coming." Hubert's heart swelled with pride. His little project had gone beyond the borders of his village, and he realized that he had created something much bigger than he ever imagined. It wasn't just about sharing facts, it was about bringing people together, even if just for a moment, with a bit of laughter and wonder. Inspired by the letter, Hubert decided to do something special. He planned a grand finale for the year's final Trivia Tuesday. For weeks, he trained his pigeons to carry small pieces of brightly colored paper, each one containing a different fact, but when put together, they would form a larger message: knowledge is meant to be shared, and curiosity is the spark that keeps us exploring. As the pigeons took off that Tuesday afternoon, the villagers watched in awe as a rainbow of notes fluttered down, each one carrying a piece of the puzzle. The facts this time were even more peculiar. Sloths only come down from trees once a week to poop, a group of flamingos is called a flamboyance, and the Eiffel Tower can grow up to 6 inches taller in the summer due to metal expansion. By the time all the notes were gathered, the villagers read the message aloud, and for a moment, everyone stood silently, letting it sink in. Hubert smiled from the edge of the square, his pocket stuffed with his ever-present chewing gum. He had done it. He had managed to share his love for quirky facts, bring the village together, and make everyone just a little more curious about the world. He thought about how, in a way, he was a modern-day version of the old town criers, but instead of news, he spread wonder. As the evening sun dipped below the horizon, a little boy approached Hubert with a question: is it true that there are more stars in the universe than grains of sand on all the beaches on Earth? Hubert's eyes lit up, and he nodded, launching into an explanation about the vastness of space, the types of galaxies, and how even with all our knowledge, we've barely scratched the surface of what's out there. And the boy listened, eyes wide, absorbing every word. Hubert's pigeons continued to deliver notes, but now they carried more than just trivia. Some of the notes included inspiring quotes, encouraging words, and even simple reminders to appreciate the little things. On days when the skies were gray and the villagers felt a bit down, they would look up and wait for the pigeons, knowing that a bit of joy was on its way. Hubert's pigeons became a symbol of hope, curiosity, and the power of shared knowledge. And Hubert? Well, he was just happy to see people smiling, their imaginations ignited by the wonders of the world, all thanks to a few well-trained pigeons and some curious facts.